So block ciphers operate in different modes. That means block ciphers are the ciphers which encrypt the block of information at one go, unlike the stream ciphers which encrypt bit by bit. So there are different modes of operation of block ciphers. So we will start with the electronic code book mode, or the most basic mode. Here what happens is the key is inserted along with the plain text, and one block of the plain text is encrypted in one go using the ciphertext. So if the plain text is very long, then it is broken into n pieces, and each piece of the size of the key goes into the block cipher, and a corresponding ciphertext of the same size is generated. So the large information n here, like n is broken into three parts, n by 3, n by 3, n by 3, and each part goes and generates a corresponding ciphertext. The decryption is just reverse of this. The ciphertext is broken, the entire ciphertext of length n is broken into three parts, and here we have shown the example of 3. It can be any value, it can be depending upon number of blocks it has and the size of the encryption. Say if the encryption has size of k and our plain text is of, or ciphertext is of size n, then there will be n by k blocks. So the reverse is also the same. So this is how electronic code book method of block cipher works, but it's not very efficient. Although it works in parallel, but it's not efficient. The reason being that the same pattern of plain text, if the pattern of plain text is, say, the value of this plain text is some value, something say k, and this plain text also has a value k, then the corresponding ciphertext generated in both of them will be same. As a result, the outputs are not properly diffused. So basically it lacks diffusion. So one example we can see here is, this is the original image and each pixel has certain values. Once this image is encrypted using block cipher in electronic code book mode, still in spite of encryption we can see that patterns are visible. This is because for the same input, for the same value of input, we get the same output. Say the value here is x and value here is also x, so the output generated will be generating the same ciphertext. That's why the patterns are visible and the diffusion doesn't occur. Whereas if any other mode of encryption is used, we get a perfect randomness. As you can see, the entire screen is basically composed of RGB values, and like it's total noise basically. Whereas here the noise is not generated because the pattern still remains. Why the pattern remains? Because, as I have explained again also, as I have explained earlier, I am explaining the same again. The same input will generate a same output because there is no chaining like extra thing is there, which we will see in the next significant block cipher modes. So this is one kind of block cipher, but only thing is that it works, it can be made to operate in parallel. Now let's see another mode of operation, that is cipher block chaining. Here what happens is, there is an initialization vector. Basically it's a random number. The plain text is XORed with the initialization vector, and whatever the output comes, that goes into the block cipher encryption key with a key, and the ciphertext is generated. That ciphertext is used, the ciphertext which is generated in the first step is used for the next part of the information. So for example, if each block is of size n and in my information is of size 3n, then information or the plain text is broken into n blocks, and n block is encrypted at a time. The ciphertext generated from the first n block is used for XORing with the plain text of the second block, and again the same thing is done, and the ciphertext generated from the second is used for XORing with the third, and again the ciphertext is generated, and this can go and this can indefinitely continue depending upon the size of the block and the size of the plain text. For example, if my plain text is of size n and my size of the block is k, then there will be n by k such operations. The decryption is again the same, it's just the reverse of the process. So as you can see, it's just the reverse of this process, And the feature is that it is basically a sequential encryption, because we sequentially, if I have to encrypt this 3n block of information, then the process will encrypt the first n. Then what is the output from the first n is used to encrypt the second n, then the third, and so on. So this is basically a sequential encryption, so it's relatively slow. And secondly, it's not necessary that my block size is say n and my message size is not a multiple of n. Then what can happen is that I have to add some extra values here, some 000s or 111s, so that they are on, so that the size of the plain text is a multiple of the block size. So for that we do a padding, so that the message becomes a multiple of the block size, and so padding has to be done. Now there is another mode of operation which is somewhat better, because here what we do is we use an initialization vector, the key is generated, and from that the output which comes with the plain text, that is used for feedback. So cipher, the first cipher text from the first nth block is from the first block is used as a feedback for the entry. So it begins with the initialization vector which is IV, or a random number, and it's a random number of the length of the block size, and the plain text is again broken into k parts. So here k is 3 depending upon the size of the block. It can be 3 or whatever depending upon the size of the text and everything, but this is the mode of operation. And thing is that the decryption in this can be parallelized, but it combines the and it's working more somewhat like a stream cipher also, because plain text is in the end XORed bit by bit with the cipher text, as you can see here. So it is basically taking some features of the stream cipher and some features from the cipher blockchaining mode, that is the previous mode, because you can see the output is also being passed. So, and it is a self-synchronizing cipher. It means that if a part of ciphertext is lost somewhere, still the remaining can be recovered, because as you can see, the information is given in the bits and the initialization vector is there. So if anything goes wrong in any particular part, because at times because of transmission error a part of the ciphertext can be lost, in spite of that loss, so you can recover part of the information here. Now there is another extension variation of the cipher feedback mode which is called as output feedback mode. Here instead of ciphertext being forwarded, the output from the block encryption is forwarded basically. That means before adding plain text to the block encryption itself, the value is forwarded into the next block. So we can see here, like earlier in the cipher feedback mode, the output was taken from here and then it was being forwarded, whereas in this case the output is taken before adding the plain text. So this is called as output feedback mode, and it is basically simply the extension of cipher feedback feedback. So you can hear cipher feedback, the output is taken from here, whereas in output feedback the output is taken from here. So instead of cipher being taken as the feedback, the output is being taken as the feedback, and it uses key stream blocks for XORing basically. So here we are doing, so it's also, so since it is extension of cipher feedback, so basically it is a kind of stream cipher, and this output is called as key stream, basically the output which is generated here, and once it is XORed with the plain text we get the cipher stream. So basically we are using the key stream here, whereas in cipher feedback mode we are using the cipher stream for propagation. So here we are using the output stream or the key stream for the propagation basically, and it also lacks parallelization. Finally, the best method which is most commonly used these days is basically a counter mode, or basically integer counter mode, ICM also it is called, or CTR mode we say it, or ICM, which is integer counter mode. Here what happens is the counter is initialized with a nonce. Nonce means not once or no ones. Basically again it's like initialization vector only, it's a random number which is used with a special purpose, that by putting that random number we prevent something to occur from again, something from reoccurring. So that's why it is called as nonce, that is not once. So basically it's a number, and that number keeps incrementing from that point, whatever the value we enter. So basically the nonce is added and then a counter is added. The two of them are basically, here what is happening is the nonce and the counter is basically concatenated. That means the counter will be increasing from 0 0 0. It's like a up counter, basically it's a shift register. So for each block the counter will be different. Counter will keep increasing. For the first block it will be 0 0 0. For the second block the value of the counter will be 0 0 1. For the third block it will be 0 0 2. For the fourth block it will be 0 0 3 and so on. In addition to that counter, this value, the nonce, which is basically a system generated runtime operated, that nonce is concatenated to it. Concatenation means say if my string is 101 and it is concatenated with another string 111, so the resultant string will be 1010 with 111. So basically this string and that string, basically this character sequence, this word and that word are combined together basically. So that is basically called as concatenation. So here what is happening is basically the counter is because of the counter we are preventing the weakness of the ECB basically, because here the plain text was simply being entered, but instead of plain text here we are entering along with the plain text a different value basically. So at every position the value is different because the counter is increasing everywhere, and we can prevent replay attacks also. That means the attacker can never know what the nonce is, because nonce is known only to the encryptor and the decryptor. So that's how we can ensure that the secrecy is maintained, and then in addition the key is also used, which is also adding to the secrecy, and both the sender and the receiver, both the parties know for which part of the block what is the counter value. So like for the first part the counter value is 000. So basically the input will be CF9BC F350000. So that will be my input for the first block. In the second block this value will be CF9BC F350001 and so on. So decryption is also the reverse of the process. So it's just exactly the reverse of this, and it is basically fully parallelized. As you can see, it can operate in parallel because the counter is automatically incremented for all the parts, because we know the value of the counter is deterministic. Like for the first block it is 000, for the second block it is 001, for the third block it is 002. So we already know the values of the counter, so we can operate in parallel also. It is fully parallelized, so that's why it can be very fast. And one requirement is that basically this counter is nothing but a shift register. Basically it's basically a register which is shifting, which is designed using flip-flops basically. So what is happening is that if the counter is big enough, we can prevent repetition basically. Otherwise, if the counter is small, if the number of bits here is very less, then what can happen is that after a certain number of blocks it will again start from the same value. So to prevent that, the counter should be very long, at least much longer than number of possible blocks which can be used, which can happen. And it achieves full randomness, and that's why it is very good, because it is giving fully parallelization also and full randomness also at the same time. So we achieve confusion, diffusion, that too at a high speed with the counter mode. So this is all about the various feedback modes. I would suggest to see this video again, because this is somewhat a confusing topic, but let me just make one thing once again in this part very clear, that entire plain text, say my entire plain text is of size 3n and my block size is of size n, then the plain text is broken into n and n parts. So there is 3n sizes of my plain text. The first n goes here, the second n goes here, and the third n goes here. Now this is a value where this is a situation I am giving where only there are 3 blocks and the size is 3n, and the block size is n and the plain text size is 3n. So normally it can be any value. Say if my plain text size is 5n and my block size is n, then there will be 5 such blocks. So there will be 5 blocks for encryption. If my plain text size is 10n and my block size is n, then there will be 10 such blocks. So here in this example we have the plain text size of 3n and my block size is n. So first n gets encrypted, second n gets encrypted, third n gets encrypted. Same thing is happening in others also. The entire plain text is broken into blocks. So first n bits of plain text forms the first block, second n bits of plain text forms the second block, third n bits of plain text forms the third block, and each one goes in separately into the block cipher encryption scheme. So this is how these are different methods of block operations. See you in the next lecture.